Hello, everyone. We are the Story Sunbirds, a kidlit collective of authors and illustrators whose mission is to cultivate a dynamic and inclusive community rooted in justice, anti-racism, and anti-colonialism. A year ago today, the children of Gaza held a press conference outside of El Shifa Hospital to ask for an end to the war. And today, we are taking part in a Children's Day of Action that was called by the poet Mossab Abu Toha, um, who we just heard from, who we just heard. It's a multi-organizational, multi-day effort to commemorate that day. And our action has been a day-long read aloud. And we've had so many amazing authors and illustrators who've been standing with Palestine and Palestinians every 20 minutes since 8 a.m. And we're going on till 7 p.m. We're almost, there's still some amazing authors and illustrators to come the next hour and a half. You can find the lineup in the chat, and we're also raising money for the Middle East Children Alliance. So your donation will strengthen the steadfastness of Palestinian families by providing essential services to those families. So check that out in the chat. And when you email us a receipt of your donation, you'll be entered into a signed book giveaway from some of our presenting authors and illustrators today. Again, all of that should be available in the chat. So we are welcoming Ewing. And if you have any questions for Eve, please put them in the Q&A box and we will get to them at the end. So right now I'm going to hand it over.
Great. Thank you so much. It's so excited to see some friends, old friends and new friends virtually. And I'm just so grateful to Story Sunbirds for organizing this event. You can see there's these magical rays of light coming down from the ceiling of my Zoom room. And so I really appreciate all the rays of light that Story Sunbirds is bringing to this space. So I'm going to read some poems. And if you're a grown up and you're on this call, you've maybe heard me or read some of my poems that are for grown-ups. These poems are for kids. I mean, they're really for anybody, but they were written with kids in mind as the audience. And the other exciting thing about these poems is, for the most part, they're brand new and they're not published anywhere. So they're part of a project I'm working on that's coming out sometime in the future. But it's really exciting for me, and I'm very grateful for the space to share them, because for me, part of my process as a poet is reading out loud and speaking with an audience. And so all of you that are gathered here with me right now, you're doing me a favor and a kindness by giving me an opportunity to read some of these poems for you all today. Because they're brand new, I usually know how long all my poems are. And so we'll see how far I get in the time we have allotted. And I'll try to make sure I leave some time for questions if anything comes up in the Q&A. Okay, this first poem is inspired by an amusement park, and it's called Slower Coaster. I just don't think you need all those twists and turns and upside down parts that turn your stomach into a pretzel. I would ride the roller coaster if it were a little bit slower coaster. And I think it seems fun, but just a little too high up for me. Imagine if you fell. I would ride the roller coaster if it were a little bit lower coaster. And there's too much yelling. You can't hear yourself think. Can't we get together and have a conversation? I would ride the roller coaster if it were more like a hello-ler coaster. Besides, we've been waiting in line all day. I'm sweaty and tired and hungry. Call me when they invent the let's go-ler coaster. So that's a poem you can use as an excuse next time you're at an amusement park. And if you're like me and you're a little bit nervous about riding a big ride, you can say, I want to get on the let's go coaster or the slower coaster instead of the roller coaster. This poem is called Little Animals. And, something I think about a lot is that sometimes we talk about humans and animals and plants, but as humans, we are also animals. And so we might not think of ourselves that way, but we are. So this is a poem about that. It's called Little Animals. We're all little animals. Every single one of us, a little animal. We hoot and wail and tug and bray and roar and bite and howl away. We're all little animals. Every single one of us, a little animal. We run and snort and jump and fall and dig and sniff and belly crawl. We're all little animals. Every single one of us, a little animal. Boy, some of those things, if anyone out here is a poet, which I hope you are, or if you're not a poet, I hope you might try to be. But something I loved about writing that poem was thinking about all the different verbs, all the different action words that I could think of that are things that animals do and that we do as people too. We run and snort and jump and fall. That was a lot of fun for me. Um, so in writing, there's words. Sometimes we use words to mean exactly what we want to say, and sometimes we use words as symbols or ideas to get something across, and we don't mean it in a literal way. So, for example, if I said I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, that might not be the case. Or if I said it's raining cats and dogs, it doesn't really mean that cats and dogs are falling from the sky. Hopefully. If they are, I hope you brought your cat umbrella and your dog umbrella, but that's not the point. And so one of the fun things about a poem is that we can use language to describe things a little bit differently than they actually are literally in the real world. And when we do that, that's called figurative language. And we use what we call metaphors. Metaphors are when we use one word to symbolize another experience or a feeling. And so this is a poem that uses a lot of metaphors. And as I'm reading it, you might want to think about, I'm going to also describe different senses in this poem. So I'm going to talk about eating, taste. I'm going to talk about smell. I'm going to talk about touch. I'm going to talk about sound. And so it might be helpful for you to think about a sound or a smell or a touch that is really meaningful to you and how you would describe it to somebody who had never experienced that. So here's the poem. It's called The Best Poem. The best poem I ever ate was a cherry so ripe the juice stained my fingers as the sun came through the leaves, making shadows on my front stoop. And the best poem I ever smelled was the gumbo stewing on New Year's Day at my best friend's mama's house, steaming up the windows while I lost at Uno. And the best poem I ever touched was the warm belly of a puppy dog wiggling in my arms, her sandpaper tongue catching my elbow, her bright eyes shining. And the best poem I ever heard was my granddad singing old songs early in the morning, ironing his shirts for work and saying praise for another day. And the best poem I ever saw was you, my friend, was you. Thanks. That was a lot of fun to read. I'm here in Chicago, which is my hometown. There might be people here from all different parts of the United States or all over the world. And in Chicago, where I live, in the winter, it's really, really, really cold. And sometimes it snows a lot. And I used to live in another city, Boston, where it also snowed a lot. And so every year I would meet somebody who maybe came from a warm place and they would say, I've never experienced snow before. And so, if you're from a place that has a lot of snow or rain or wind, it's interesting to think about how would you describe that to somebody who never felt it before? Something I think about a lot as a poet. Poets have weird thoughts. Okay, this is a silly, even sillier poem. Um, and it's about a guy who likes to put everything on the grill. It's called Barbecue Drew. Barbecue Drew loves barbecue. I'll grill anything up and I'll serve it to you. Rib tips and pork chops and carne asada, thin sliced zucchini and 3-egg frittata, chimichurri chitlins, spicy bulgogi, shawarma and scallops, a 6-layer hoagie, a sour pineapple, a brown portobello, cello kebab, and some squash that is yellow. And if you are far too full and you say to him, Drew, I can't possibly eat. He might grill up your shoe. If you yell at him, Drew, that's too much. Please stop. He might mess around and just grill up a mop. In fact, don't visit Drew. Just call, send a text, because we never know what he might barbecue next. Ooh, very ominous. Okay. This is a poem about how sometimes there are things that we want to do to feel loved, and sometimes we try to do those things to share with other people. And that can get complicated because everybody doesn't need the same things to feel loved. So, for instance, some people really like hugs, and some people really don't. And so, if you are a person who loves hugs and you're trying to make your friend feel better and you hug them, make them feel worse. So that's a complicated thing. And sometimes we have to learn when we really love somebody, we have to ask them about how they want to be loved and how they like to receive care. So this is a poem about that. It's called The Butterfly. A monarch butterfly landed in my garden, and we talked and shared secrets. And I showed the butterfly my drawings and told my funniest jokes and whispered a dream until the butterfly told me, "Now, my friend, it is my time to go to the warm place for winter." I said, "My friend, please stay. Oh, stay. I will make you a coat, and you'll be plenty warm." "Oh, my friend," the butterfly said, "I see your kindness, but that is not the right gift for me. A coat would crush my delicate wings." So I said, "Oh, my friend, please stay. Oh, stay. I will make a toasty fire, and you'll be plenty warm." "Oh, my friend," the butterfly said, "I see your kindness, but that is not the right gift for me. A fire would burn my small body." So I said, "My friend, please stay. Oh, stay. I will bring you inside with me and you'll be plenty warm." "Oh, my friend," the butterfly said, "I see your kindness, but that is not the right gift for me. A butterfly needs to see the sky." Forlorn, I worried that the butterfly would go and at the end of it all would never really know how much I cared. "My friend," I asked at last, "how can I show you all you mean to me? What is the right gift for you?" "Oh, my friend," the butterfly said, "that is simple. If you would let me, I would love to give you a kiss farewell." I nodded and I held very still and closed my eyes, and the butterfly landed on my nose, fluttering so softly that I thought I dreamed it. And I opened my eyes, lashes just touching the butterfly wings. A butterfly kiss. And I said goodbye, grateful to have learned what it means to care for a butterfly. Thank you so much. I have to tell you the truth, which is that that is not a real story. A butterfly didn't land in my garden and I didn't talk to a butterfly, but it's a story that's true in my heart, which is another thing I really like about poems is you don't always have to tell a true story like it really happened, but it can be true in your heart. Okay, we have a couple more minutes and I see one question. So I'm gonna read a couple more poems and then we'll see. I'll try to leave like 3 minutes at the end. Now, this is a poem about, this poem is a true story. Well, partially. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I have a hard time keeping track of my socks. I know that when they start out, there are always two socks. They go together, and then somehow one of them gets lost, and I never know how it happened. And it's especially confusing because every year I open my drawer and I look at all my socks and I make sure that they all match. And then there's always one that has lost its friend. And I always just feel so sad for that sock. So this is a poem about that. It's called My Sock is Missing. I'll read this and then maybe one more and then we'll wrap up. My sock is missing. At the laundromat, my auntie was folding our clothes and suddenly frowned. "Your sock is missing. We are missing a sock, a blue and lacy and stripy sock." She squinted at me and pointed at the dryer. "Go in there and find that sock." I gulped and I looked at the dryer, big and round like a porthole on a pirate ship. It beckoned to me. I climbed in. I saw a red and fancy and shiny sock. I called out to my auntie, "Auntie!" Is it a red and fancy and shiny sock? She called back. No, it is a blue and lacy and stripy sock. I kept looking. I saw a black and glittery and holy sock, a purple and tiny and dotty sock, a white and fuzzy and frilly sock, and a pink and stretched and woolly sock. None of those were mine. I looked some more and I saw some more things. I saw a pair of pants with only one leg. I saw a ball of dryer fuzz the size of an ostrich egg. I know that's how big it was because then I saw a real ostrich egg. I saw an old electric guitar, the feather of a bird, the muffler of a car. I saw a wooden toothpick and a rusty tuna tin and a recipe for flan and a hair from a chin, but not my sock. I saw a black and white orca, a floating pontoon, my great 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 granddad, and cheese from the moon, but not my sock. Finally, I crawled out of the dryer. My hair was sticking straight up and crackling with static electricity. And when I touched my auntie on the shoulder, I gave her a real shock. I said, I saw a lot of things in there, but not my sock. My auntie frowned. Then a woman tapped her on the shoulder and said, Excuse me, ma'am. Is this your blue and lacy and stripy sock? I found it behind the snack machine. It was my sock. And now that I have both socks together, I might never take them off again. Oh, you all have been so lovely. I'm going to read one more poem and then let's see. I think we have at least one question. I'll answer the question and then we will all say farewell. Okay. This poem is called It's Okay to Be Scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay. Of noises and lonely and late at night crows and the shadows inside you that nobody knows. It's okay to be scared. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay. At rainstorms and bee stings and canceled fun plans and your most favorite toy that just broke in your hands. It's okay to be mad. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay. I think that I can slide in one more final, most for real, final poem. Okay, this is a silly one. Now, I don't know if anybody here has ever been told, like, oh, you have your grandma's eyes or you have your father's hair, things like that. So, this is a poem about that kind of. It's called Grandfather Mose Lives Far Up My Nose. My mom says that even though I never met them, my ancestors are inside me. When I was little, I thought she meant that Grandfather Mose lives far up my nose, and Great Uncle Dale's underneath my thumbnail, and Great Great Auntie Cher sleeps tucked into my hair, and Old Mother Dear is curled inside my ear. When I told Mommy, she laughed. You are never apart from your faraway loved ones, they're inside your heart. Of course, now that I'm older, I honestly know that all my ancestors live in my big toe. Thanks, y'all. It was so wonderful to read these silly and fun and sweet poems with you. I'm going to answer this one question. This question comes from DeMarcus. And the question is, what is a small thing that I am doing to keep my spirits up? And I'm really grateful for that question. Honestly, I think being in community with other people is always so, so important. And so every day I try to make sure that I reach out to my friends, that I ask how they're doing, and that I try to practice being a really good listener, that when they tell me how they're doing, that I really really listen and I try to think and reflect on what they're sharing and maybe remember it so I can ask them a better question next time. Hey, is your stomach feeling better? Hey, did you have that tough conversation with a friend? I want to really make sure that I'm showing up in that way. And then the other thing is reading and writing always makes me feel better. So I'm glad that being here tonight helps me. Well, it's nighttime for me, might be daytime wherever you are, but it helps me do all those things at the same time. I get to be in community and I get to read. So thank you so much for Story Sunbirds, for having me, and to everybody who organized.
Thank you, Eve. That was fantastic. That was so fun. And if you can just leave in the chat sort of where people can find you online. And Thank you everyone for tuning in. And again, this is a fundraiser for the Middle East Children's Alliance. So um, go ahead and if you can donate, that's also in the chat. And you can find us on Instagram and follow our newsletter in the chat as well. Okay, so I think we're doing a changing